Happy Easter to Christians all over the world and happy holiday to all our viewers. Good morning. Welcome to a special package of Business Morning on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We'll have to do business in spite of the holiday, but we'll try to make it special for you. Well, let's start with oil prices. Prices climbed to nearly 3-week highs today as fares over tight global supply grew, with a deepening crisis in Ukraine raising the prospect of heavier sanctions by the West on top exporter Russia. Brent crude futures were up $1.09 at $112.79 a barrel after hitting its highest since March 30th, which is $113.80. Earlier in the session, U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures rose $1 to $107.95 a barrel, and it had gained as high at $108.55 before then. Both contracts gained more than 2.5% on Thursday, and that was on news that the European Union might phase out in a ban on Russian oil exports. EU governments say that the bloc's executive was drafting proposals to ban Russian crude, but diplomats say Germany was not actively supporting an immediate embargo. Those comments came before tensions grew in the Ukraine crisis over the weekend, with Ukrainian soldiers resisting a Russian ultimatum to lay down arms yesterday in the impoverished part of Mariupol. Moscow, which calls its action in Ukraine a special operation, says its forces had almost completely seized the city. However, the International Energy Agency had warned that roughly 3 million barrels per day of Russian oil could be shut in from May onwards because of the sanctions. Well, we'll delve into our first conversation after this break. Do stay with us. We do have a special package for you on this episode. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Well, 30 years after it was last adjusted, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission is proposing an adjustment in the vertical revenue allocation formula to 45.17% for the federal government, 29.79% for state government, and 21.04% for local government. Under the current sharing arrangement, the federal government has 52.68%, and states get 26.72%, while local governments get 20.60%. Well, this and efforts of states to maximize resources in the diversification drive in the country is what the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule, joins us to discuss this morning. Good morning, Governor Sule. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter to you, sir. So first of all, let's get your thoughts on this new proposed sharing formula. What thoughts come to you when you heard about it?
Well, as the Nigerian Governors Forum, collectively, we actually proposed this review upwards in favor of both the states as well as the local government. Because while we commend the federal government for most of the major infrastructures and other expenses that they are going through, the states' overheads continue to increase. And a good example, really, coincidentally, is Nasarawa State, where we are still using a formula based on population of 2006, given Nasarawa, for instance, 1.8 million people, when in reality, in one local government that has border with the federal capital, we have over 2 million people there. So in reality, we propose that locally it's been changed. So you can say that the states generally are in favor of this new proposal, from the agency.
And what difference do you think it will make to the country as a whole, to the economy, when or if this is finally approved?
Well, it will make significant, especially in the area of infrastructure and the management of local government areas and the states. It's not going to solve all our problems. Indeed, all the states and the local government areas and the council must brace off to generating internal revenue. Without us actually working on our revenue base, The federal allocation dependence is not going to solve all our problems. This is the reality. So this is actually going to address just a few areas that we are looking at, especially in the areas of the SRA, that is the salaries and the rest of that. But when you come to the infrastructure, the states must find ways to generate revenue. That's the only way you can address most of the lapses and the problem that we are having.
It's good you mentioned that, Mr. Governor, because a lot of people have been that we have a lot of resources in all the states in Nigeria, but some say the state governors are not working enough to optimize the potentials that are in the resources and largely spread in many states of the Federation.
Well, they may be right. When it is right, it's right. The reality is that a lot of states have great potentials, and those potentials are not being explored. And I will give you a very good example is with Nasarawa State. You can imagine, all our proximity to the federal capital and the rest. Nasarawa State was one of the least revenue generating states. When we came in the year 2019, actually, the state generated a revenue of not more than a little over 7 billion for the whole year. That's just an average of a little over 500 million monthly. So that's nothing to talk about. So we didn't even go into exploring new avenues of revenue. What we did was just to go and plug some of the leakages, in the first year. So by 2020, our revenue base actually had grown, to somewhere around 11 billion that year. And by 2021, our revenue base now grew to 16.9 billion. So those are the kind of numbers that we are seeing, So, and I think those are the kinds of things that still, I don't think we are doing enough either. So we had to bring in more consultants to keep looking at the various opportunities. But you can see that we have more than doubled, in just 2 years' effort. So, and I strongly believe if we keep going, Nasarawa State has the capacity to generate 30 billion annually, which is really maybe for one state in the Southwest. Lagos alone is generating about 30 billion, in just 1 month. But you see, because of the lack of industries, and lack of this, lack of that, so that's the reason why we've been able to do what we have to do.
So how do you think we can spread this message and have more state governors challenged to look inwards and not just wait, for the FAQ which comes at the end of the month?
I think the message is being sunk. Each time we go to the meetings of the governors, this message is actually keep ringing, in the ears of every governor that we have to go. Mr. President has hit on this item many times, say that you states, you have to go and generate your revenue, especially during the COVID-19 era, when we're talking about bailout, budget support and the rest of that. We came in and found that, and you will see that all we did during those years was to reduce the significance of the deductions. We came in, for instance, in 2019 and we were faced with 3 payments. One was the budget support that was given before we came in, so it was going to be deducted. Secondly, we had the bailout that was also given, salary bailout, that we had to also pay. Deductions began in those ones. And then there was this 10 billion that was deducted, from the reserve that the federal government have, the dollar amount. Every state at the time that took was given about 10 billion. So again, we were faced with these 3 payments, in addition to the COVID-19. So I think the governors pleaded if it was possible for the CBN to suspend the deductions, just because of the reduction in the revenue that was coming on, especially with the price of oil. So that was done, and but that has resumed now, the payments. So those are the kind of things we go through. So if states will not wake up, to generate revenue internally and find ways of generating revenue, then you can imagine what is going to happen, which is the reason I came for this program. That's why we are having an investment forum, investment summit in the next couple of days, 11th and 12th of May, that specifically is going to address some of those issues, because a lot of states have great potentials. But until we look at those potentials and do that, we can't continue to depend on the federal government and federal revenue, as means of revenue. We have to look inwards, and I think that's what most of the states are doing.
Well, some state governments have pointed to the issue of exclusive lists as a challenge, that has been a limiting factor for them to access some of these resources and to explore. From your perspective, how much of a challenge is that?
Well, you see, the exclusive list, sometimes we look at other countries and just make comparisons with Nigeria. For someone like me, I'm lucky actually to have been trained and done work and lived in a country like the US. And people try to make those kind of comparisons. In the US, it is this. In the US, it is that. Why is it not so in Nigeria? Nigeria is not US. So I think we have to be able to look at some of these realities and face them. And a good example is the oil and gas, for instance. Maybe that is one area that you will face. The oil and gas sector had always been promoted in the country, has always been promoted through the federal government by some other investors. The same thing with mining. Today, Nasarawa State is a mining state. However, we had allocated over 400 licenses for various cadastrals, and all of them were allocated by the federal government. So Nasarawa State could jump up and say, we want to be totally in control of these resources. So if it is given to Nasarawa State, can we actually do it on our own? If the oil and gas was allocated only to the list, can some of these oil-producing states continue to say they can do it on their own? You see, today, a lot of people will jump up to say, yes, we can do that. But how did it start? How much revenue was invested into that? How are we going to generate those revenues? So people are not looking at those things. They are just looking at today. You have to look at yesterday. What happened? How did it go before you can get to where we are? And I think that's the reason why I may not 100% be with you on the area of the exclusive list.
All right, and another area has been, well, the private sector obviously has a major role to play if states are going to contribute to the diversification efforts of the federal government. So how do you attract the private investors to your state? Then the issue or the conversation around ease of doing business also comes in. The issue of multiple taxation and issues like that. And it seems sometimes that state governments they just want to make the tax and they forget about the ease of doing business, of attracting the numbers into their states.
You are right. And I think that's the reason why I was telling you one thing, that without even opening new areas of revenues, we went ahead and just plugged some of the leakages. And I will not tell you we were able to plug 100% of the leakages. And we've been able to do what we did, without really opening new taxes. When we came in, we realized also about these multiple taxes you have mentioned. So we went back to the House of Assembly, and say that, no, we have to legalize some of these issues. We have to make sure that we provide the legal framework for each one of these taxes. We cannot be charging one tax. The state government is doing one, federal government is doing the other local government is doing one, and maybe communities are also doing one. They will kill the businesses. So we went ahead and consolidated all these taxes. And that's why we came up with the law on the ease of doing business in the country. And then we have the one-shop stop, where people who are registering new businesses and people who have complaints, they are going to just this new location. And for me, I'm happy that because of my background coming from the private sector, then I'm now looking at myself as if I own that business. If I own that business, I don't want multiple taxes. Therefore, because it will kill the business. So therefore we came up with these ideas, of ensuring that we have the legal framework for just one tax, and then let it be up to the states and the local government to find a way of sharing, rather than having the multiple taxes. So that's what we did. So most of these areas, we have not done that. Now, most of these areas, we are not charging them. There are no multiple taxes. In fact, even some of the multiple taxes we inherited, we stopped them. We ensure that we stop some of these multiple taxes. Now, going back into the area of ease of doing business, like you have mentioned, we decided to start promoting and attracting big commercial businesses coming into the state, because our state is a mining state. Our state is an agricultural state. So we decided to continue to focus more and more into those areas, and then attracting the big businesses like the Dangote agribusiness, like the Flour Mills agribusiness, like the Azman agribusiness, like the Olam agribusiness. So those are the kind of things we continue to do, so that we will be able to assist in ensuring that we are promoting big commercial businesses that will attract employment, attract revenue, and the rest of that. So that is the direction we are going.
Yeah, so as a mining state, Mr. Governor, these businesses you are attracting, are they focused in mining, or what areas?
Yes, as mining, when we mention we are a solid mineral state, we have over 35 different kinds of minerals, but not all of them are in commercial quantity. So what we did was to select areas that we know will be attractive to an investor, because no investor would like to come in and start mining, and in 3-4 years, he has already concluded, because the amount of investment he will make in equipment, in drilling, in clearing, and the rest of that will be huge. So for that reason, we try to narrow them down to about 5 areas of lead, zinc, barite, and coal, and the rest of that, so that people will know exactly those are the areas. We are not going into maybe some gold that they mentioned, because we know that we don't have the quantity size yet. So that's what we did in the area of the mining. But the biggest area of focus, other than mining, is actually agriculture, because Nasarawa State, based on the study and the fact that we still have the entire mapping of the state, so we know some of the areas we are blessed by water. River Benue has been very kind to Nasarawa State. Various rivers have cut across. So irrigation is wonderful in the state. We have waterfalls, we have dams, in addition to that, for all year irrigation, so, and then we have fertile land. So we decided also to look at areas where there is plenty amount of land. For instance, when Dangote came, they were looking for somewhere about 60,000 hectares of land. It's very difficult to find this size of land, because this is almost the size of currently Abuja, in just one location. So what we did was to make sure we go into areas where there are no conflicts with the communities, and then went into awareness and creating a lot of awareness and bringing all the opportunities that the people will benefit and the rest of that. So that's what we did. So we're looking at areas of our strength, not just general, and say that mining, everybody interested in mining, come. No, we're looking at minerals that we know we have in commercial quantity.
All right, Mr. Governor, I don't think this conversation will be complete without talking about the youths. What are you doing, even in the area of mining, agriculture, skills acquisition, and including the youths? Just briefly, please, Mr. Governor.
And the youth is our target, as a matter of fact. All these things I'm talking about is mainly the youth. Nasarawa State has been lucky to be close to the federal capital, and therefore an attraction of the huge amount of youth that we have, in addition to the ones we already have. Yet Nasarawa State was not blessed with so many industries. So when we talk about these industries, especially agri-based, agricultural projects are the biggest attraction for employment, and the employment of youth is our target. So in fact, everything that we are doing when we talk about employment, when we talk about revenue generation is nothing about youth. And that's why we focus on the area of education, especially technical and vocational education, so that our youth are well equipped, that they can go into these industries and that. You've seen Mr. President visiting us recently, and that's one of the things he did. He came in and actually commissioned one of our vocational centers. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Thank you for spending this Easter morning with us. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you so much. I wish you the same.
Thank you. We'll take a break now. After the break, there's a rave, a new rave, I could say, in the entertainment industry. You want to find out what and how it's affecting you and businesses? That'll be after the break on Business Morning here on Channels Television. PwC reports projects that Nigeria's TV revenue market will hit $806 million in 2020, while it's estimated that in 2021 it will grow to $838 million and $871 this year, 2022, and then next year, 903. You see that growth there. Well, a bulk of this revenue should come from production, reality shows. You have Big Brother Nigeria, Real Housewives of Lagos. That's like the new rave now. And of course, we have the usual content which we all enjoy during our relaxation period. Job creation goes beyond the cast, the crew. It goes to advertising, marketing companies, and a whole lot more. But really, how lucrative is this business and how sustainable is it? Well, we have two ladies to discuss that. I'm glad to have two ladies with me. We have Grace Edwin Okon joining us in the studio. She's the producer of Pepper Soup. I like that one.
You do.
Yeah. She's the producer of Pepper Soup and a whole lot more. And then we have one of the talents of Real Housewives of Lagos, Choma Ikoku, joining us virtually. You know her more as Choma Good Hair. Hi, Choma. Good to see you.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to everyone.
Happy Easter, Grace.
Happy Easter to you too.
So, I mean, at times like this, I mean, you guys are in, because people are at home, they just want to relax. But give us a little bit of, you're a producer, you've been in there, you're at the background, you do a lot of back work and all that. Take us through, you saw the projection of PwC going from 800 to 831 to 900 for next year. Tell us a little bit about the growth in the industry.
Okay, so dating back to when I started, this was in the 90s, our industry wasn't contributing so much to the GDP of Nigeria. But as at maybe 2020 or 2019, thereabouts, you know, we shot up. First of all, when our quantities increased and we became the second largest content supplier in the world.
I think that also came with the rebasing. Yes.
Giving credit to Nollywood. You know, we became known and everyone became interested in what we're doing here in Nigeria. And, you know, after the World Economic Summit some time ago and all that, Nigeria, in fact, Nollywood was one of the major players to the economic sector of Nigeria and all what we do here in Nigeria. So it's been a great, the chart has gone up, the graph has gone up, and it's still going up. Now we have music. Outside of the Nollywood industry, we have music coming in, we have the reality shows coming in. Even though the reality shows started way back, but people wouldn't realize that it has started a long time ago.
Perhaps it wasn't called reality show.
Yes, with people like Charlie Boy. I don't know if you'd remember Candid Camera way back. It had started a long time ago, but it hadn't taken on the strength it has as at today. I think because of the way the West took on Big Brother over there, took on so many reality shows, Kardashians and things like that, it now filtered here, and then now people have accepted reality shows, and it's now a huge market. It's a huge business.
Let's talk to Choma about that reality show, since we see her face on Real Housewives of Lagos. Choma, well, just before we go there, how real is this reality show? Some people say it's actually an acting reality show.
I promise you, everything that you see on the Real Housewives of Lagos is 100% reality. There's not an atom of this show that is scripted. The most script you'll get is, okay, everybody come together, we're meeting at 7 p.m. at so location. But what you do when you get there is entirely up to you. How you act, how you project yourself, that is on you, and it's absolute reality.
All right, so you heard Grace, she talked about the growth so far, and now it seems Nigerians are catching up, you know, with reality show. Give us a little bit of background of how you think Nigerians were convinced to accept, you know, or how much acceptance you have among Nigerians when we're talking of reality shows.
So I think, first of all, naturally, most people have been used to like Nollywood and movies. But if you look at the rest of the world and the platforms that are now taking over from television, so you have Netflix, Showmax, Hulu, they focus mainly on like series and shows and just like reality television. I think people have moved past that level of seeing like, you know, a perfect looking actor, a perfect looking actress and a scripted movie, which we all know is fiction and not reality. Now people want to see people that they can relate to. They want to see people that have lives that mirror they want to see people that have lives that mirror their own lives. People that basically like their reality can match their reality, so they can actually learn from these people, take things home from them. And so the jump from fiction to reality is one that you cannot understate it. And of course, you know, I mean, yes, Nigerians, sometimes we are behind, but we're fully catching up. You know, as Grace said, we've had Big Brother, even some of the Big Brother contestants have come out and had their own reality shows, which have done really, really well. And so the Real Housewives of Lagos is pretty much a welcome sort of like addition to the reality TV family in Nigeria. I mean, it's an international franchise, but of course now there's the Nigerian version, which is such a big deal for Africa, by the way.
Yeah, we would like to talk about the business of it, but we'll come back to that. Let's talk to Grace now. There are a lot of talents. I mean, in your pepper soup, we have, I mean, just like you and I are seated here, we're just two, but there are tens of other people who are making this production possible. You have the camera people, you have the people in the master control room, you know, you have the web and all of that. Give us a little bit, I mean, for some of us we know, but give us a little bit of background, the talents, the job creation that each production brings, you know, to the economy when we see one maybe TV show or movie that we're watching.
It is huge. Using my company, for example, when I want to make a film, a short film, feature film, whatever, documentaries, I hire about 50 people. This is cast and crew, you know, and I pay these people. And these people feed their families, you know. So that's just me, who is a very tiny business owner in the scope, in the larger framework. It is, you know, you probably don't, a lot of people don't realize how much work goes on behind the cameras. Like we're here right now, I know the number of people that are walking around me right now. There's just so much to do. It's not only the faces you see on the screen, you see, you have from the script to all the way to the technical guys, to the administration, to the accountants. It's a whole lot. Because of this, in the last 7 years, the World Bank has been interested in the entertainment sector in Nigeria. I have personally been a beneficiary of some of the things the World Bank is doing
Some
here.
grants?
Yes, trying to get involved in the sector, trying to see how they can, you know, help out and create more jobs. Because at the beginning, when way back, nobody was helping us. We were on our own, you know, we're self-funding. It was really tough. But now we have the international world coming in. Currently, we have a lot of skills acquisition programs funded by international organizations and even the federal government, trying to see how the entertainment industry can even grow bigger than what it is today. You know, if you want to have a reality show, there's no how. You'd have at least 100 crew members. Why? Because, for example, if you're following her show, Chioma's show, for example, on each character, you'd have a full production unit, starting from the cameramen to the sound guys, the light guys. It's a whole lot. And then if you have like 5 or 7 or 10 casts, then that is in numbers. You have several people on that same show. And then you have people on the advertising side who are also making money. You have the staff in the advertising companies who are also making money from, you know, all of this content that we're producing.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you how lucrative, because I do know that equipment, for instance, are very expensive in our profession.
Yes.
You talk of a camera, you know how many millions you want to talk. And then even if you don't own it, you want to rent it, it's a lot of money and it counts every hour.
Yes.
We want to do post-production. You get the ENG editor, you get the machine. You know, it's huge. So how lucrative really is it? Or you're just doing it for the passion?
Passion.
Not even now that diesel is about 750 naira.
I mean, if you're in post-production right now, because I just finished editing a film, you would almost bleed financially. Why? Because you're running, there's no power supply right now in the country. There's no power supply. So you are dependent on, supplying yourself power. And you're running generators back to back. When you're rendering a film, it takes hours. I'm talking 48 hours or maybe even more. And you cannot stop at any point, because if you stop, you're starting all over again. So, it's a whole lot. It's very expensive. However, yes, I mean, we would not be here. I have been in this. I've been in this for almost 24 years. I would not be here.
So you must be making money for you to stay.
Maybe, I think so.
Let's find out from Choma. Choma, how much money are you making from this reality show, Housewives of Lagos and all? How much? So we know if we can come to your house.
So we're making a lot of money naturally just by being a cast of a show that is so big. We get paid well, but also you get endorsements. So after the show starts to air, companies are looking in, they're interested in you with your newfound fame and popularity. Companies come, they want to use you to advertise. So you do make money if you're smart, definitely.
If you're smart.
But give us some insight into, I know Grace mentioned it, how if you have 10 cast, you have about maybe 5 crew going with, one cast and all that. Give us an insight into the job creation or some of, the line, looking at the downline of bringing this reality show to the screen.
Okay, so she's right. For each cast member, we need to have our own crew following us around, just pretty much like filming. And sometimes we film simultaneously. So at each point in time, there's at least 100 people working, and that's from the crew. Obviously, cast members were not that many, we're about 6, but of course we get paid well. So that's money being made. Now, for every time we're not filming in our homes or our businesses, we're filming either at a restaurant or on the beach or some event venue. Those companies obviously have to be paid in order for us to use their locations. So they're making money. Also, as Grace mentioned, when it comes to marketing, I don't know if you've seen the sort of marketing that's gone into the Real Housewives of Lagos, but I don't think there's any billboard that you'll see in Lagos that our faces are not plastered all over. Even on Bodilon, literally that entire stretch, you see the Real Housewives of Lagos back to back to back. So obviously marketing, advertising, every single person in that field will basically get paid as well. So in terms of job creation, I think it's doing an amazing job for the economy. As Grace said, there's a lot of interest now from banks, from government institutions. Everybody wants to invest in entertainment. They're ready to give out loans and grants. Companies are willing to pump funds into entertainment. I think there was such a huge turn during COVID because obviously people were stuck at home. Some people couldn't even work. So what did people turn to? Entertainment. And ever since then, it's just skyrocketed.
So are you guys looking at bringing in new, fresh blood, new skills, any plan, or do I just wake up, maybe my daughter has an interest, sees Choma and says, oh, I want to be like Choma, and so she goes into acting or into reality show? Or is there an intentional effort, to get maybe even producers, even more than the cast, into the fold?
So there definitely is. And I think that, a lot of the time with Nigerians are scared. They're almost afraid to jump in. They don't know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. Like, for instance, I'm a lawyer, but getting into entertainment as a lawyer was almost seen as a taboo in the first place. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm the CEO of Good Hair Limited and Brass and Copper Lifestyle, which is a hair salon and a restaurant, respectively. But in Nigeria, a lawyer going into hospitality, it's like, how do you marry the two? But after I did it, so many people started to do it afterwards, meaning that I inspired a lot of young women, a lot of young girls to also understand that, yes, you can have your profession, you can have your degree, you can even practice, but you can also do other things as well alongside this degree. So it's kind of like the same thing with reality TV and entertainment. Even me going on a reality show like Real Housewives of Lagos, I know how many people bashed me at the start. They were like, why would you do a show like this? You're such a professional, you're this, you're that. But I was like, you know what? It is the future, and yes, I want people to look into my life. I want people to learn from me. I want to inspire young girls. It doesn't always have to be ghetto or drama. Sometimes you can actually encourage, because half the time I'm filming in my office. I'm actually filming at Good Hair or, having a meeting with one of my, legal colleagues or something. So people can see that and learn and understand that, you can actually follow your career and also do it in the entertainment industry. It works. And in terms of jobs, you have, so say for instance, the cast. Now that season 1 has finished, season 2, they're going to bring like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 more people. They're definitely going to need more people to film. They're going to need more line producers. They're going to need more series producers. We're going to use more restaurants. So it's a trickle-down effect, and it just continues to expand and expand.
All right, Choma. Well, Grace, I know some time ago you talked about skills. I think you had some workshop, or because for people like you need a lot of camera, and you need professionals. You want script writers, you want people who are really good. Because, I mean, before now, one of the reasons given for not embracing our movies was the quality of it. So you talk of directing, you talk of the production, you talk of skills, the lines and the delivery of it. So from your perspective or from your area now, do you have intentional efforts to get the creative people who are naturally talented, who are interested, so at least you can have, a lot of skills in the area?
Okay, I run a film school, and that came about because while I work, a lot of people send messages on social media. Oh, Auntie, please, I want to act. Auntie, please, I want to work with you. I want to learn how to do this or do that and all that. So, I just knew that I needed to do something like that to help the next generation, because as I may be young, but I'm old. I'm old in the industry.
I don't see gray.
No, I mean in the industry.
I know.
Yes, I mean, some people even call me a veteran at this stage. They love young budding talents out there. They love young people who have so much to give in the industry. And then they're interestingly, even older people, for example, some people start their careers when they're 40 or 50. They never knew they had the talents until later in life, late bloomers. So people just can get into the industry, but it is really difficult. Let me be honest. It's not a walk in the park. You have to somehow have people to help you, or someone to guide you or show you the ropes or whatever. So I do know that there's a gap. How to get into the industry is one problem. And then it's not just learning the skills, it's also using the skills to make money, to earn a living.
Not just doing it for passion, because you could get frustrated.
Yes, because a lot of actors, for example, they work for a number of years and they don't blow. They don't become famous and popular and all that. So it can get stressful. But if you do know how to go about it, you would make money, you become...
So how do I go about it?
Okay, so... the informal way is actually...
I'm saying that to say that, don't you think that the industry leaders and people like you who have been there in a long time, shouldn't you find a way to bridge that gap so that the young or the late bloomers, as you call them, they now realize, oh, this is where I should be. It's easy for them to climb into it or find their way into the industry.
Yeah, so like you said earlier, that production is expensive. So not everyone can actually become a producer, because even if you have to rent equipment a day, for example, you'll be spending close to like 150,000 for a full gear. And then you have to spend a number of days. Just calculate it. If you do not
So you don't have time to really put people who are learning on the job? We
do help people. We do. But how many people can you have on your sets, for example? So now with the new skills acquisition centers and things, Lagos State government, the federal government, a lot of people are already setting up some of these organizations to help bring in so many people. But it's not just leaving them with the training, it's also empowering them.
Yeah.
So we kind of find ways to help them and say, you know what, you can do this. You can become a vlogger. You can go on YouTube and become a channel owner and even start your own reality show, for example, or be a social media sensation and make money from social media.
And then from there, you can now go into the main industry. All right, Grace Edwin Okon, producer of Pepper Soup and so many other movies. Thank you so much for gracing our show. Grace for gracing our show. And we have Choma, who joined us virtually. Choma Ikoko, you know her more as Choma Goodhair, one of the cast of Lagos, Real Housewives of Lagos. Thank you so much, Choma, for sharing your Easter morning with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one. So, well, that's it. Normally we wouldn't do this. That was just for your Easter, and I hope you did enjoy that conversation. So you might be getting entertained, but always remember that while you watch 2 or 3 people, there are about 100 behind the scene creating jobs, creating content. We'll take a break now. When we come back, Business Morning continues. Just stay with us. You're welcome back to Business Morning. Well, the equities market is not on today. The fixed income market has gone on holiday, but the crypto market is on. Yeah. That's why Ladi is here.
Yeah, the crypto market doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
It trades on weekends, trades on holidays, and it's quite
you make money
a
every day.
sell-off. Yeah, the crypto
Sorry,
market.
you make or lose money every day?
You can make and lose money every day. Look at the fear greed index this morning. We're seeing its extreme fear. You know, even though we're having the Easter holidays, the market is quite fearful right now. 24 points of 100 this morning. Market cap $1.81 trillion. That's down about 3.74% this morning. Volume traded, that's up about 43.46%. We're seeing that volume rise from sell-offs of Bitcoin and most of the altcoins. Bitcoin dominance 40.99%. That's up about 0.18%. And we see Bitcoin there losing that $40,000 range over the weekend. It's at $39,014, down about 3.31%. Volume traded in Bitcoin, that's about $23.87 billion. And we see price of Ethereum, that's trading at $2,919. That's down about 4.09%. Volume traded $13.41 billion. Well, we have Olumide Additional right there joining us today. Olumide, good morning.
Yeah, happy Easter Monday, Ladi.
Happy Easter Monday, but yeah, traders are not so excited. You know, this morning we're seeing Bitcoin losing that 40,000 level, trading around 38,000 this morning. How you seeing the market, Olumide?
Yeah, we were not surprised, you know, understanding the fact that for a couple of days, Bitcoin has been struggling to maintain the 40,000 important level. And we understand why the narrative is that the US dollar is getting stronger, where US Fed is bringing strong sentiment that they will reduce their balance sheet, liquidity is getting dry. And you know, this is Easter Monday, so despite the fact the crypto market doesn't sleep, we see some traders really taking off their positions. So that's why we've seen some drawdowns. But having said that, I think we need to understand that the systemic importance coming to the crypto market is becoming higher. Take a look at Binance, for example. Binance is having exposure in the Middle East. This is the world's largest crypto exchange. And, you know, Muslim countries are kind of very cautious when it comes to risky investment. So attention is looking at the adoption in that place. Also, the world's biggest asset manager, BlackRock, also took a partnership with Circle, the USDC provider. So it means that they will form some form of custody. So that's giving credence to the market. And also, you know, NFT space keeps on generating. We're seeing new collection. We're seeing women adoption coming in the space. We're seeing celebrities. So despite the fact that we're seeing price moderating lower, the adoption, on the other hand, is increasing. But, you know, like we've always retreated, crypto regulation seems a bit cloudy, despite the fact Joe Biden had released a crypto executive order for such to move. But we still see that investors are still waiting for more clarity, especially when you look at India, for example. The Indians introduced a 30 tax crypto bill for investors, so that kind of discouraged some entities in that zone. But relatively, adoption is strong. Bitcoin, for me, I think Bitcoin bulls have done a fair job if you compare with other risky assets that have suffered much more record sell-offs, Ladi.
Right, and obviously the crypto market gets crazy swings, you know, between 10 to 20% with altcoin. But we're looking at the king of the altcoins there. Is lost that $3,000 mark, and it's down about 4% this morning. And we see the bears could be aiming for 2,500. How are you seeing that?
Yeah, very likely. I'm seeing that. I share that sentiment, but that would be a very tall order because you need to understand that before that happens, it needs to break below the $2,800 support level, and you need to also consider that a lot of stakers in the Ethereum ecospace are increasing because Ethereum is trying to move from proof of work to proof of stake, so we are seeing growing holders in that. So that might be a bit tricky. Then the NFT ecosystem is where Ethereum ecosystem also thrives. So that's left to be seen. But I think what really investors will look for that support that you just mentioned to realize is how the US dollar comes to play this week, especially when we see the US economic data coming out. Any hawkish reports suggesting that the US economy is still fired on all cylinders will definitely weigh on the crypto market, lads.
Right, and this morning I saw Russia's finance ministry finalize a crypto bill, with the government, which recommends using cryptocurrencies as legal tender in Russia. How is crypto Twitter reacting to this? I saw a couple of reactions this morning.
Exactly. One of the leading comments came from CZ, the co-founder of Binance, saying he was surprised, but actually bookmakers were not really surprised, understanding how the Russians have been isolated from the global banking industry. You understand that sanctions against key Russian banks like Sapa Bank, and Alpha Bank, these are banks that play systemic role in the Russian economy, and definitely that has affected them negatively. So they've also been looking at other options. So we're not surprised because some weeks back, you recall that the Russian finance ministry even mentioned that they might accept Bitcoin as a form of oil payment. So that gives to the fact that they see the credence and importance it's playing in the war, and understanding also that they need funds from all cylinders as they've been tightened. So bookmakers were not surprised when they passed, when they really worked on the bill to legalize crypto payments. And also they've seen how the crypto ecosystem has favored their rivals, the Ukrainians. They've used that to buy equipment. They've used that to fund humanitarian support. They've seen how funds are being moved from one point to another easily than what we see in traditional finance. So definitely they want to catch the space, so we're not really surprised, Laddie.
Right, and obviously, Olumide, it's a new week. We've seen, Bitcoin already have that major pullback this morning, but by tomorrow we'll see the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. All those other markets are going to be trading. What are you expecting for the Nasdaq? Because we know there's that correlation between, Bitcoin and the tech-heavy Nasdaq index. Do you think it's going to be more sell-offs there, which will also translate into the crypto space?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say because you need to understand that liquidity in today's market is thin because, like I said, today's an holiday, despite the fact that the crypto market never sleeps. So I think it would be fair for us to see the opening tomorrow. But, with the way the US dollar is firing on all cylinders and the way we see the US 10-year treasury at yearly highs, it suggests that we might see a bearish for the crypto market. Albeit, news coming in the crypto market keeps changing. So if Bitcoin can stay above $38,000, then it can reclaim back above the $40,000 level. But if the odds are against the bulls, then it means that $35,000 would really be their saving grace. Because if you look at the technical indicators, it still says that Bitcoin is not in an oversold position. So it means that it could still drop moderate, and that will definitely affect other many crypto coins like Ethereum, Eve, and others. Yeah.
Now we know how traders, love to buy at oversold regions, and we're not there yet, so there might be still sellers. But I'm wondering, what could be that catalyst, to spur the bulls, back in control in this market? But it remains to be seen. It's just the beginning of the week. We'll see how it all goes. Thank you so much, Olumide. Yeah. It was great talking to you as always.
Same here, lovely. Thank you.
All right. So looking at the sub-alts by market cap, as expected, it's all red on that counter. We see BNB down about 3.66%. We see Cardano, that's down about 6%. We see eCash, that's the fork of Bitcoin Cash ABC. That one is trading at less than a cent there. It's down 7.70%. And we see XRP also at 73 cents, down 5.96%. So, it's mostly red this morning.
Mostly red.
Yeah.
We do hope that color changes, but it seems we cannot run very far away from what's going on in Ukraine.
Exactly.
A Russian invasion into Ukraine is still a major determinant
That's
of
what
markets.
all traders are watching at this point. Yeah.
Exactly. With the sanctions and the consequences. So anyway, thank you so much, Ladi.
You're welcome.
Well, that's our show for this Easter morning. Thank you so much. We do hope we're able to spice up your Easter morning at least a little bit. And then we'll be back tomorrow to give you our usual current and relevant business talk on Business Morning. Have a good Easter. I'm Ini John McFarlane.